Good afternoon, and I welcome all of you on this day 3 of CAHO, the 7th every edition CAHOTECH, which is in a virtual mode this year. And today is the last day, and we had the theme for this CAHOTECH edition on healthcare digital transformation, connecting the dots. And how do you scale up the technology and innovation? I'm Joy Chakraborty, the chairman for this CAHOTECH 2022. I welcome once again all of you. It is my privilege to have with us Dr. Devi Shetty, and we are going to have the keynote. We are going to hear from Dr. Devi Shetty the digital adaptation in a healthcare institution, why and how that he's going to talk. And before that, though he doesn't require much introduction, but I will just shortly mention about him. He's a cardiac surgeon of repute and successful entrepreneur and highly respected luminary for his ingenious ideas for reforms in healthcare sector. We have seen that during pre-COVID as well as during COVID time, that the kind of policy reforms he has proposed. And today he is the chairman and founder of Narayana Health. His visionary leadership to make quality healthcare affordable for all has drawn global recognition. Way back, in association with Government of Karnataka, Dr. Shetty pioneered Yashashini, a very inexpensive micro health insurance scheme benefiting more than 3.4 million rural poor. Dr. Shetty is the current chairman, board of governance of Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore. He has also served as member, board of governors of Medical Council of India and representative of President of India in the board of governors of Indira Gandhi National Open University. He is a strong advocate of technology for efficient healthcare delivery, and he takes deep interest in creating and developing software products and applications to achieve time and cost efficiency while minimizing clinical errors in healthcare delivery. Dr. Shetty also has a US patent and as an inventor of system and method for facilitating delivery of patient care, a computer implemented method for facilitating delivery of patient care in adherence with a standard of care clinical protocol as described. He is recipient of several prestigious awards, including the Padma Bhushan, Padma Shri, the Economist Innovation Award by Ernst & Young, and Entrepreneur of the Year by Financial Times. He has also awarded honorary doctorates from University of Minnesota, University of Mysore, and IIT Madras. So with this brief and short introduction, I want to request Dr. Devi Shetty to give and deliver his keynote address.
I just want to talk about a few points, mainly about how our industry will be, I wouldn't say disrupted, will be changed for better once the digitization happens. First of all, there is a compulsion because global healthcare and wellness industry is the second largest industry in the world with $10 trillion a year. Now, unfortunately, even after spending $10 trillion, less than 20% of the world's population has access to quality, affordable, accessible healthcare. Something has to change. The first change we need to do is to make healthcare safer for the patients. Healthcare is not safer for the patients, mainly because of the incidence of medical error. We believe that once the digitization happens, medical error will come down significantly. I'll give you two examples of the impact digitization will happen in healthcare. First impact is, just look at the job of a nurse working in the ward. A nurse working in the ward, whether in India or in US, comes for work in the morning at 7 o'clock, takes a BP apparatus and a thermometer. She goes from one bed to the other, checking the blood pressure, temperature, respiratory rate, and entering those things on the paper. It takes about 15 minutes for her to record all the vitals. And she goes from one bed to the other. If there are, say, about 30 patients in the ward, by the time she finishes 30 patients, it's time for her to start all over again. It is the most boring job, mundane job, which doesn't really require any intelligence. So they are generally unhappy with their job. Now, the same nurse on night duty, 12 o'clock, she goes near a patient who's fast asleep, wants to check the patient's pulse rate and blood pressure. First reaction of the patient is to scream at the nurse. Because if the patient is woken up at 12 o'clock at night, because we want to document the blood pressure, temperature, he will not be able to get back to sleep. So he is unhappy with the nurse and screams. In the process, we are forcing the nurses to bluff. And nurses bluff all over the world with the data at night. Now, all we need to do is to have a ECG patch which gives the ECG with the analytics, with the it can give the temperature, it can give the blood pressure, it can give the saturation. All the vitals can be automatically collected from the patient round the clock. And there can be a TV in front of the nurse's station with 3 color flags, green, orange, and red. Only when the color changes to orange and red, nurse will go and see the patient. If we can do that, first thing is we will bring back the joy of taking care of the patient by the nurse, and we can virtually eliminate so-called sudden cardiac arrest happening in the ward. Because we will get, before a cardiac arrest happens, at least 6 hours before the arrest, patient's heart rate goes up, patient get restless, saturation goes down, blood pressure goes down. So there are indications to analytics tools can easily predict that the gentleman is not doing well and something has to be done. And that patient can be easily shifted to ICU and taken care. That is one area of our healthcare workers being unhappy with the job. Second place is the critical care unit, intensivist job. Today, young doctors don't want to become intensivists, mainly because of the night duties and the virtually 24-hour coverage. The largest growth segment in healthcare is going to be the increase in the ICU beds. More than half the beds of health hospitals will be replaced by critical care beds. Now, if this massive growth has to happen, we need to have more intensivists. But intensivist job is not very attractive. So we need to change their job profile. Essentially, what we need to do is to invest on online healthcare, wherein intensivist works between 9 to 5. After 5 o'clock in the ICU, there are only anesthetists present who can ventilate the patient, who can put the central line, arterial line, wedges the ventilator. But the thinking intensivist will be at home, and they should be covering the patient only for 2 or 3 hours at night. Based on their age, they can take the early shift or the early morning shift, whatever. So that they are on duty, but on duty from home, sitting in their drawing room with a cup of tea in hand. I'm sure 3 o'clock in the morning, intensivists at home with a cup of tea in hand are in a much better position to decide about how to manage the patient. rather than a intensivist who is awake whole night and trying to take a clinical decision at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. If we can bring these two changes, I believe the mortality in the hospital will come down significantly. Like this, there are many other examples I can quote, but on the whole, all these changes will make a dramatic impact. The problem today is the cost of electronic medical records, which are extremely expensive. And most of the electronic medical records are developed for the desktop or a laptop. They're not built on a mobile platform. Unfortunately, doctors look at the desktop or a laptop 5 to 6 times in a day, but they look at their mobile phone 200 times in a day. So if we want doctors' attention in managing an inpatient, we need to really build electronic medical records on a chat platform like a WhatsApp, so that each patient with multiple problems is taken care by large group of people trying to chat with each other on a chat platform and taking a collective decision. And when something changes, automatically the whole team will come to know. Also, we are becoming a very litigant nation. One of the way to protect ourselves is recording the video of the consent, explaining to the patient everything what can go wrong, and that can be stored in the electronic medical records itself. And the other important aspect is, when we finish the surgery late at night, patient comes back to the ICU, and the patient, after 2 hours, is extubated, is wide awake, is chatting. That time we can, these EMR mobile records, we can record the patient chatting, talking, and we can send a short clip, a video clip to the family that the patient is awake. Because in case 6 o'clock in the morning, if the patient develops a brain stroke, irrespective of how much we convince the family that he was fine, he woke up after the operation, they'll refuse to accept it. So all these technological tools will bring about a massive shift with the seamless connectivity between all the gadgets in the hospital, like a ECG machine, blood gas machine, chemistry analyzer, and all the doctors linked with a mobile app, which essentially gives the real-time data of the patient. Massive transformation can happen. So I believe India is ideally poised to create these electronic medical records, mainly because we are blessed in having thousands of extremely smart software engineers. We have to just tell them what the problem is. They will come up with a solution. And this is my observation, and thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. I think some of the very pertinent issues and areas you have touched upon, whether it is human resource, clinical nursing, the utilization, the EMR, and the kind of innovation need to happen. So thank you for your inputs, and thank you very much for joining here today.
Thanks.
Thanks, Joy, and thanks, Devi. Always refreshing to hear. I think fresh from the mind's eye for somebody who has really made such a huge impact across healthcare, not just here locally, but globally.